Hey Reddit. I guess I'm another idiot with a shattered marriage, throwing my story into the digital void hoping it'll make sense to someone, maybe even help someone avoid the same hell I'm crawling through now. I never imagined I'd be here. I used to think those stories were exaggerated, full of drama for clicks. Until it happened to me. Until Claire happened. I'm 36. She's 34. We've been together for over a decade, married for 9 years. No kids. No big fights. Just the slow, silent kind of decay that creeps up behind you and puts a knife in your back when you're not looking. I thought we were happy. Well, I was. I worked hard, provided, planned for our future. She worked in marketing, always the creative soul, the social butterfly at every party. People loved her. I adored her. We had passion, especially in the early years. The kind of all-consuming love that makes you ignore the little things. Like how she always had a guy texting her as a friend, or how she flirted openly but swore it was just harmless fun. I ignored the red flags. Hell, I painted them white. Every time I brought something up, she turned it around on me, said I was insecure, controlling, jealous. Do you want to be that husband? She'd ask with a smirk. The one who doesn't let his wife have a life. I backed down every time. I wanted peace. I wanted her to feel free and safe with me. But freedom, I've come to learn, was just her word for do whatever I want, and you'll still stay. Things shifted about a year ago. That's when she started getting deep into online empowerment circles. I remember the moment clearly. We were watching a show and a character talked about open marriage. She paused the TV and looked at me like she was testing the waters. You know, she said, twirling her wine glass, monogamy isn't exactly natural. It's just a social construct. I laughed. I thought it was just another one of her passing interests, like the month she got obsessed with crystals or her 6-day vegan experiment that ended with a McChicken. But she wasn't joking. That night opened a door she never intended to close again. Over the next few months, she dropped more hints. Wouldn't it be fun if we both got to explore? Maybe we'd grow from it. Couples who open their marriage often find they reconnect even deeper. She acted like she was doing me a favor. Like allowing me to sleep with other people was some kind of gift, except she made it very clear she'd already started exploring. Without asking me. Without telling me. Apparently, their discussion was just a formality. She had already made her move. I just hadn't caught up yet. But trust me, I did. I didn't find out everything all at once. That would have been merciful. No, it trickled in, like poison in a well, slow, invisible, and deadly. After Claire dropped the whole open marriage bomb on me, I was too stunned to respond. I told her I needed time to think, to process. She agreed, smiled like she'd done me this massive favor, then skipped off to her girls' night, which I'd later learn was anything but. For the next couple weeks, things between us were off. She was distant, yet unusually cheerful. She started wearing makeup to the gym, dressing up to run errands, staying out later than usual. She claimed it was all part of embracing her independence. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But something felt wrong. That kind of happiness didn't come from freedom. It came from secrets. Then I found the first clue. One night, she left her phone face up on the kitchen counter while she went to shower. She never does that. Ever. The screen lit up, had a great time last night. Can't stop thinking about you. My stomach dropped. The message was from someone saved as Sasha, which would have been believable if Sasha hadn't sent a shirtless selfie. And unless Sasha was short for Sebastian, we had a problem. I didn't confront her right away. I needed more. I knew she'd gaslight me if I came with just one screenshot. So I dug. Yeah, I know, invasion of privacy, but after 9 years of loyalty, I didn't feel guilty. Not one bit. I went through her messages while she slept. Sasha was actually Jason, a tattoo artist she'd discovered when she decided she wanted something new inked to symbolize transformation. Transformation, my ass. Turns out, she'd been transforming on his studio table for months. The texts were disgusting, graphic, passionate, full of "I've never felt this alive" and "he doesn't even touch me like you do." I couldn't believe what I was reading. The woman who once begged me to build a life with her had become someone I couldn't even recognize. And then came the kicker: she'd started seeing Jason 3 months before she brought up opening the marriage. So it wasn't about growth or exploration. It was about justifying betrayal. I sat there at 2 a.m., phone in hand, heart in my throat, wondering how long I'd been the fool. Was any of it ever real? Was she planning this the whole time? I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling, trying to picture the moment our marriage went off the rails. The truth was, it didn't derail. She drove it off a cliff. I waited a day before confronting her. Not because I was scared, because I wanted her to bury herself first. I wanted to see how deep the lies would go. Call it petty, call it strategy. I just needed to know how far she'd fall if she thought I still believed her. So that next morning, I played dumb. Made coffee. Kissed her on the cheek. Watched her scroll her phone and giggle while texting him, thinking I was some oblivious idiot. It made me sick. I wanted to throw the mug across the room. That evening, I brought it up casually while we were both winding down. "So, you and this tattoo guy. Jason, right?" She froze. Barely flinched, but I saw it. Her pupils shifted just a hair too far to the left. "What are you talking about?" I looked her dead in the eye and said, "You've been *****ing him for 3 months. I read the messages." She blinked. Then, like flipping a switch, she went full Defcon gaslight. "I can't believe you invaded my privacy. That's abuse, you know. You went through my phone. Are you serious right now?" Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I messed up." No, she spun it to make me the villain. "You're deflecting," I said calmly. "I saw everything. You don't get to play the victim." Her face twisted, the way it always did when she got caught but still wanted to win. "Okay, fine. Yeah. We hooked up. Once." I laughed. "Once. So those dozens of messages about how he opened you up spiritually and physically were just poetry." Then she snapped. "Maybe if you weren't so boring in bed, I wouldn't need someone else," she screamed. "You're so emotionally distant, I feel like I'm married to a damn wall." That broke me. Not because it hurt, because I realized how calculated it was. This wasn't shame. This was attack mode. She'd been waiting for an excuse to blame me. And now that she had it, she threw every dart she could find. She stormed off to the bedroom and slammed the door. I just stood there, stunned. Heart racing, fists clenched, every cell in my body screaming to scream back. But I didn't. I knew arguing would just give her more ammo. Instead, I walked outside, sat on the porch in the cold, and just breathed. That night, I made a decision. I was done being the reasonable one. Done absorbing her abuse. If she wanted war, fine, I'd bring the truth. And not just to her. Because there were people, family, who still thought she was this sweet, misunderstood wife. That image? I was going to shatter it. A week later, her parents hosted a dinner. One of those big family gatherings with wine, roast beef, and fake smiles. Claire insisted we go. She wanted to keep up appearances, said it'd be weird if we skipped it. I said nothing. I agreed. But in my head, I was already planning. This wasn't just a dinner, it was an opportunity. Claire always performed for her family, made herself their golden daughter, the modern, confident, independent woman. I was her trophy husband, stable, quiet, boring enough not to threaten her spotlight. But this time, I wasn't going to be silent. The evening started awkwardly. She wore a low-cut dress, did her hair like she was headed for a nightclub, and clung to me like everything was fine. The act was perfect. She kissed her dad's cheek, complimented her mom's casserole, and giggled with her cousin about relationship TikToks. I watched her, disgusted, knowing full well that less than 72 hours ago she'd been getting railed by a guy named Jason in a studio full of skull stencils and fading ink. Halfway through the meal, her brother made a toast, to love, to family, to strong marriages. I smiled. It was my cue. I stood up, clinking my glass. Actually, I said, I've got something to add to that. Claire shot me a look, half panic, half warning. I kept going. I think strong marriages are built on trust, communication, honesty. And when one partner decides to open the marriage behind the other's back, lie about it, cheat repeatedly, and then blame their spouse for it, well, that's not strength. That's cowardice. Silence. A fork hit a plate. Her mom blinked like she couldn't process what I'd just said. Her dad frowned. Claire? She went pale. Jason says hi, by the way, I added. Apparently, he's really enjoying your transformation. Oh, and you should probably get tested. He's not exactly exclusive. But I guess neither are you. Then I sat back down and took a sip of wine. Claire stood abruptly. You're unbelievable. How dare you humiliate me like this? I shrugged. You humiliated yourself. And then, the twist I didn't see coming, her cousin, the one sitting across from us, pushed her plate away and muttered, "Wait. Jason the tattoo guy." Then she turned to Claire and said, "You too." Claire's jaw dropped. I raised an eyebrow. Her cousin continued, "You knew I was seeing him last year. You asked me about him, Claire." Chaos erupted. Her cousin stormed out. Claire chased after her. Her dad sat frozen. Her mom muttered, "Oh my God." And me? I sat there, finally free of the lies. But this was just the beginning. After that dinner, things escalated fast. Claire didn't come home that night. She sent me a voice note at 2:14 a.m., all shaky breath and teary dramatics, accusing me of violating her boundaries and sabotaging her relationships. As if I was the one screwing around and lighting grenades in other people's lives. She called the dinner an ambush. I just listened in silence, then deleted the message. The next day, her mom called me to talk. That turned into an apology I didn't expect. Apparently, the cousin, her name's Alicia, had gone off on Claire in the parking lot, exposing months of sneaky behavior, manipulative games, and more than just Jason. Turns out, Claire had a little rotation going, Jason was just the most recent and the most inked. But here's where it really hit the fan. 3 days later, Claire showed up to our house looking like death. Pale, shaky, sweating. She didn't say anything at first, just walked in like a ghost and collapsed onto the couch. I didn't ask. I didn't offer water. I waited. Eventually, she spoke. "You need to get tested," she muttered. My stomach turned. Tested for what? She wouldn't look at me. Jason gave me something. I don't know what it is yet, but it's bad. I stared at her. Blank. Numb. "You opened the marriage," I said. "Congratulations. You also opened a whole damn petri dish." She flinched like I slapped her. "This isn't the time to be cruel." I stood up. "The time for kindness ended when you made me the last to know everything." She left after that. But I wasn't done with her. Not even close. That weekend, her entire family had a barbecue. She still insisted on showing up, like nothing had happened. I knew she'd spin the narrative, poor Claire, emotionally neglected, desperate for connection. So I did something petty. And perfect. Before the barbecue, I stopped by her place under the guise of returning keys. I'd printed out her messages with Jason and Alicia's testimony, packaged them neatly into an envelope labeled, "For those who still think she's innocent." At the barbecue, I waited until everyone had a plate, until the laughter was peaking. Then, standing by the cooler, I clinked my bottle. One more thing before dessert. Claire wanted openness, I said, handing her the envelope in front of everyone. I'm just helping her share. She looked inside. Froze. Then, out loud, I added. She gave me an STD. Just like she gave it to her cousin's ex. Might wanna schedule some appointments, folks. Panic. Screams. Her uncle dropped his burger. Alicia stood up and yelled, I told you he was trash. Someone knocked over the lemonade. Claire didn't say a word. Just stared at me with pure hatred. I smiled. Because the woman who weaponized openness had just gotten exposed in front of everyone she ever tried to impress. After the barbecue bombshell, I knew I couldn't just sit around waiting for more chaos to come knocking. Claire had a way of spinning stories that could make her sound like the wounded phoenix rising from ashes she lit herself. I wasn't going to let her get ahead of this. Not this time. I booked a consultation with a divorce lawyer the very next morning. The woman was a no-nonsense type, smart eyes, sharp suit, zero sugarcoating. I gave her everything, the infidelity, the text messages, the family drama, the STD confession. I even showed her the envelope I passed out at the barbecue, just in case Claire tried to say I was slandering her publicly. My lawyer smirked. She handed you the ammunition, she said. All you did was pull the trigger. She advised me to go scorched earth. I had grounds for fault-based divorce, potential claims for emotional distress, and a strong case for spousal misconduct if Claire tried to come after any of the assets. I asked for everything I was entitled to, and then some. Meanwhile, Claire tried damage control. She started calling mutual friends, feeding them some sob story about how we grew apart, and he became cold and emotionally unavailable. One friend actually called me to check in and subtly suggested I try to work things out because she's clearly hurting. I just laughed. She's hurting? Bro, I had to get tested for STIs at the same clinic where I took her for premarital blood work. Don't talk to me about hurting. Word spread fast. I didn't even have to say much. People knew the truth. Alicia made sure of it too. She shared her own experience on Facebook. Tagged Claire. Tagged Jason. It went semi-viral in our circle. Open marriage, open legs, open clinic visits became a running joke among some co-workers who'd seen the post. Claire finally texted me one last time, you humiliated me. I hope you're proud. I didn't respond. I forwarded the message to my lawyer. A week later, she was served the divorce papers. She tried to claim emotional trauma. My lawyer countered with medical records and printed screenshots. Claire folded fast. She didn't want this dragged through court. Not after what happened at the barbecue. Not with Alicia openly talking about her accidental boyfriend sharing. And definitely not after the rumor spread that Jason was under investigation for operating without a license. Yeah, turns out Mr. Tattoo wasn't even certified. That's probably where the STD came from. I got the house. I kept my retirement. She walked away with her clothes and a mattress that probably had more miles on it than my car. But don't worry, I wasn't done yet. Because while she was licking her wounds and burning every bridge in her family, I had one more move left. One that would flip the whole story upside down. After the dust settled from the legal fallout, I finally had a moment to breathe. It was surreal, walking through the house alone, everything so quiet. But it wasn't the bad kind of quiet, it was peaceful. No lies whispering through the walls. No more late-night showers with her phone conveniently left charging. Just stillness. But as I tried to move on, something kept nagging at me. A detail. A sentence buried in the avalanche of texts I'd read between Claire and Jason. It was from her, sent late one night. He has no idea. I hope I never have to tell him. If he found out, it would destroy everything. At first, I thought it was just more dramatics. But the wording, it felt different. Not sexual. Not even emotional. It felt deeper. Like a secret. And Claire didn't keep secrets lightly unless she was terrified of them coming out. So I started digging again. I went through our old emails, notes, shared documents. I remembered that during our 4th year of marriage, Claire had taken a mysterious solo trip to clear her head. Said she went to visit an old college friend up north. I didn't ask too many questions. Back then, I trusted her. Stupid me. I cross-referenced dates. Emails. Photos. Flights. Something didn't add up. Her college friend. She didn't exist. The woman she claimed to stay with had moved to Australia 2 years earlier. Facebook confirmed it. Claire never visited her. But she did book a hotel in another city. And oddly enough, she had several receipts from a fertility clinic during that same weekend. That made no sense. We weren't even trying for kids. Until I remembered something else. Her sister had struggled with infertility for years. Suddenly it hit me. I called up her sister's husband, Jake. We were never close, but I needed answers. And when I gently asked about that time in Claire's life, he hesitated. She never told you, he asked, voice tight. Told me what? He sighed. Claire was our surrogate. She carried our daughter. It was a private arrangement. Legal, but discreet. I was stunned. But why would she hide that from me? He paused again. Because it wasn't done through a clinic. I did the insemination myself. Claire didn't want anyone to know. She said you'd never understand. I nearly dropped the phone. So let me get this straight. While I was at home thinking my wife was off on a personal growth retreat, she was secretly getting pregnant for her sister's husband, naturally, and then had the nerve to shame me for not being adventurous enough. I felt sick. Betrayed all over again. But more than that, I felt something snap in me. And that's when I knew, if she wanted a war, I'd give her one she'd never forget. The minute I hung up with Jake, my brain went into overdrive. Everything suddenly clicked like pieces of a puzzle I didn't even know I was solving. Claire hadn't just betrayed me. She'd betrayed her own damn family, too. And the twisted part. They all helped her keep it buried. But not anymore. The next big family event was Claire's niece's birthday party. An innocent little backyard gathering, nothing dramatic, balloons, pizza, a rented bounce house, and about 30 people who all thought Claire was just going through something. Claire hadn't shown her face since the STD dinner fallout, so most folks assumed we had split amicably and she'd quietly slipped into the background. Wrong. I knew she'd be there. Claire never missed a chance to be the center of attention again once the storm passed. She thought the worst was behind her. She had no idea what was coming. I arrived with a small manila envelope and the calmest smile I've ever worn. Claire saw me across the yard and froze. Her expression flickered between, "Oh no," and "Don't you dare." I waved casually and made my way over to her sister and Jake, parents of the sweet little girl playing in the bounce house. "Cute kid," I said, smiling at them. Her sister smiled back nervously. "Yeah, thanks. She's growing fast." Claire tried to interrupt, but I raised one hand. "She's 6 now, right?" I asked. Jake looked confused. "Yeah, and born exactly 9 months after Claire's little retreat upstate, right?" Jake paled. I pulled the envelope from my jacket pocket and handed it to her sister. Inside? Copies of the hotel receipt, clinic transactions, and a notarized affidavit from a former nurse I contacted confirming that Claire underwent fertility procedures under a false name, but used Jake's sperm for insemination. And just in case anyone still questioned it, I had also slipped in a DNA test I paid for, comparing a publicly available database result from Jake's ancestry site and the niece's baby photo Claire had posted years ago. Her sister gasped. Jake whispered, "What the hell?" and Claire. Claire lunged for me. "You sick bastard," she screeched. "You had no right." I stepped back and said loud enough for the crowd to hear. "You opened the marriage, Claire. You opened the family too. Congratulations on becoming your own niece's stepmother. Her mother dropped a plate. Kids stopped playing. Someone gasped. Jake stared at Claire like she was a stranger. The silence was thunderous. And then Claire ran. Just took off down the sidewalk like she could outrun everything. She couldn't. Because her whole world had finally caught up with her. After Claire sprinted down the street like her demons were nipping at her heels, the party descended into chaos. Her sister was crying. Jake was shaking. Kids were ushered inside as the adults tried to pretend the emotional nuke that had just gone off wasn't real. But it was. I didn't hang around for the fallout. I wasn't there to comfort anyone. I was there for truth. For justice. For closure. And I got it. That night, my phone blew up. I ignored most of it. Claire left voicemails, some sobbing, some angry, one where she screamed that I'd destroyed everything. Like she hadn't done that already. Her mother texted me asking if I'd please stop airing family matters in public. I replied, then maybe stop hiding them. Alicia, the cousin she betrayed, sent me the most satisfying message of all. You are a legend. I'll buy you a drink anytime. But it wasn't all cheers and high fives. Jake called me later, voice hollow. Said he didn't know how to tell his daughter when she got older. Said he didn't know if he could even look at Claire again without vomiting. Said his wife, Claire's sister, had gone completely numb. I felt for him. I did. But part of me couldn't help but think, now you know what it feels like to have your world shattered by someone you trusted blindly. The story took on a life of its own. Someone at the party had filmed part of the confrontation. It ended up on a private Facebook group for family drama horror stories, then leaked to Reddit. I didn't post it, but I watched it climb in upvotes like a silent trophy. Claire's reputation tanked. Her clients dropped her. Her girl boss image she'd cultivated for years crumbled overnight. She tried to do damage control online, posting some long-winded Instagram caption about healing from betrayal and facing toxic masculinity. Comments weren't turned off, big mistake. Top comment. Girl, you faked a surrogacy and gave your husband an STD, sit down. She went radio silent after that. But for me, things were changing. For the better. I was sleeping again. I wasn't jumping every time my phone buzzed. I actually laughed at something stupid on TV for the first time in months. And then, one evening, as I was going through boxes she left behind, I found something unexpected, a journal. One she must have kept hidden in the closet under some old scarves. I knew I probably shouldn't have read it. But of course, I did. And what I found inside made everything worse, and somehow, so much better. The journal was leather-bound, old school, and surprisingly heavy, like it had soaked up all the filth it contained. Tucked beneath a pile of scarves in the back of her closet, it looked untouched, but the moment I opened it, I knew this wasn't some casual diary filled with doodles and thoughts about sunsets. It was her truth. Claire had always been the kind of person who lived outward, curated posts, big energy, filtered perfection. But this journal? It was raw. Private. Honest. Which made what I read hit 10 times harder. The first entry dated back to our first year of marriage. She wrote about feeling trapped, how the idea of being someone's wife was already making her itch. She wrote about how she missed the chase, and how she had never really believed in forever. I felt sick. That was the year I surprised her with a second honeymoon. I thought we were solid. She was already questioning everything. She didn't name names in most entries, but it was easy to fill in the blanks. There were affairs before Jason. At least 3. One was a co-worker from her old job. One was a married neighbor. And another one? My own friend, Mark. The same Mark who toasted us on our 5th anniversary. Her words were vile. I like being desired. I like power. I like when they know they are getting something that doesn't belong to them. That sentence kept echoing in my head. She wasn't just unfaithful. She thrived on betrayal. She romanticized it. Made herself the anti-hero in her own messed-up little novel. And as I kept flipping through the pages, I realized Jason wasn't a mistake. Neither was their surrogacy. They were just part of a long line of calculated chaos. Then I hit the final entry. Dated just a few weeks before I confronted her. He suspects. I can feel it. I wonder what he'll do when it all collapses. Maybe he'll finally become interesting. That broke something in me. For years, I had bent myself backward trying to be a good man. Thought I had failed somehow. Thought maybe I hadn't been enough. But now I saw it for what it really was. This woman didn't want love. She wanted control. She wanted destruction she could dance through like fire. So I closed the journal, placed it in a box, and drove it straight to my lawyer. I didn't want it in my house anymore. But before I handed it over, I took a picture of the final page. I keep it on my phone. Not as a wound, but as a reminder. Because the worst part of betrayal isn't what they do behind your back. It's what they make you doubt about yourself. In the weeks that followed, my world shifted. Not dramatically, not like an explosion, but more like when fog finally clears, and you realize just how far off course you'd been sailing. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I had to explain myself to anyone. Claire had gone silent. After the journal surfaced, especially the parts detailing affairs with named and unnamed men, including a friend of her father's, classy, her family fully cut ties. Her sister moved out with the kid and filed for separation from Jake. Not because of what he did, but because she couldn't live with the fact that her child's biological mother was her own sister. That kind of betrayal stains everything. Every photo. Every birthday. Every hug. Claire tried to rebuild online, of course. She changed her Instagram handle to something new age and vague, at Healing Through Pain, and started posting cryptic quotes about rising from ashes, paired with selfies showing just enough cleavage to still be Claire. No one bought it. Me. I started picking up the pieces. Slowly. I wasn't looking for revenge anymore, I'd already won that war without ever raising my voice. Now I was looking for peace. I started seeing a therapist, something I once thought was for other people. But it helped. I didn't go to talk about Claire, I went to talk about me. About how I let myself shrink to keep someone else comfortable. About how I ignored red flags because love made me colorblind. About how I convinced myself that loyalty would fix someone who didn't even want to be repaired. I started reconnecting with friends. Real friends. People who'd quietly backed away when Claire controlled every social circle, every plan. Turns out, they'd all seen her manipulation years ago, they just assumed I was too deep in to hear it. One night, over drinks, Alicia showed up. Yeah, that Alicia. Claire's cousin. The one who got burned by Jason too. We hadn't really spoken since the barbecue war zone, but she pulled up a chair, ordered a whiskey, and said, "So, that was a mess." We talked. For hours. Not romantically, not suggestively, just honestly. It felt real. Human. And for the first time in years, I wasn't walking on eggshells waiting for someone to twist my words. Later that night, after she left, I looked around my house. It was quiet again. But this time, it wasn't hollow. It was mine. The air didn't feel heavy. I didn't feel like I was being watched. Judged. Controlled. I cracked open a beer, threw on music Claire would have hated, and finally, let myself exhale. And you know what? Freedom doesn't scream. It sighs. I'd love to say that was the end of it. That Claire just faded into the background like a bad dream and I moved unclean. But life rarely gives you tidy endings, sometimes it gives you karmic punctuation marks. And I got mine on a rainy Thursday afternoon. It had been about a month since I found the journal and nuked every remaining bridge Claire had left. I was settling into single life, therapy once a week, gym more often than not, and quiet nights that didn't feel like punishment anymore. I wasn't dating. Wasn't even thinking about it. But I wasn't angry either. Not like before. I felt lighter. Then my buddy Mark, you remember, the guy Claire hooked up with during our marriage, texted me. Mark, bro, you're not gonna believe this. You home? I was. He showed up 30 minutes later, looking like he'd seen a ghost. Pulled out his phone and played me a voicemail. It was Claire. Claire's voice, panicked. Mark, I think I'm pregnant. It's not yours, I know that, but I need someone. I don't have anyone else, and you at least used to care about me. Please don't ignore me. I don't even know who the father is. I blinked. She seriously called you? He nodded, wincing. She's been messaging a bunch of us. I know for a fact Jason blocked her. So did a couple of her ex-flings. Dude, she's spiraling. A few hours later, I saw it myself. Claire posted a video to her healing through pain, Instagram. No makeup. Puffy eyes. Shaky voice. I know I've made mistakes. I was manipulated by people who claimed to love me. I lost myself. I let others use me and now I'm dealing with the consequences. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to grow. Cue sad music. Cue comments disabled. But screenshots don't die, and neither do receipts. Within minutes, someone reposted it to a drama forum with the title. Cheating wife opened marriage and got STD at family dinner, now possibly pregnant by mystery man number 7. The post exploded. Again. People remembered. People always remember. Especially when you torch everyone on their way down. I didn't comment. Didn't gloat. But yeah, I watched it unfold. And I won't lie, it felt good. Not because she was suffering. But because for once, I didn't have to do a damn thing. Karma pulled up a chair, took a sip of wine, and said, relax. I got this. She wanted a world where everything was fluid, open, unaccountable. She got it. Now she was alone, infected, possibly pregnant, and out of lifelines. And me? I had peace. And popcorn. Just when I thought the last page had turned on this mess, life handed me one more twist. Not drama this time, no shouting, no viral clips, no family meltdowns. Just a quiet ding from my phone while I was folding laundry. It was an email. From an address I didn't recognize at first. The subject line? I'm sorry. Please read this. It was from Claire. Now, I almost deleted it without opening. But curiosity has claws, and part of me needed to see what kind of rewrite she was trying to pull now. So I read it. Every word. It was long, 3 pages, if you copied it into Word. No formatting, no emojis, no blame games. Just, her. She admitted to everything. Not just the affairs. Not just the journal. She confessed to stuff I hadn't even discovered yet, an emotional fling with a professor during college, a brief affair with a bartender while we were engaged, even testing boundaries with one of my co-workers during our 2nd year of marriage. She painted herself as someone who didn't know how to love, who chased chaos because stability felt suffocating. But the part that hit hardest. I think I always knew you were too good for me. That's why I pushed you away. I didn't know how to live in peace, so I created storms. I thought I'd feel powerful. Instead, I feel hollow. She didn't ask to get back together. She didn't ask for forgiveness. She just said she hoped I was happy. That I found peace. That maybe one day, I'd remember something good about us that wasn't laced in bitterness. I sat there for a while after reading it. No anger. No smugness. Just a strange, calm ache. The kind that comes when you finally understand something you never wanted to. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. She said what she needed to say. And honestly, I appreciated it. Because even though it didn't undo the damage, it gave closure a face. Not the screaming, cheating, manipulative woman I had come to despise, but the broken, scared person buried under all that poison. I shut my laptop and looked around my place. Clean. Quiet. Mine. The man she tried to destroy. Still standing. Stronger. And maybe, for the first time in years, finally whole. After that email, something shifted in me. I'd been so locked in on survival mode, on proving I wasn't the villain in her twisted story, that I never really stopped to ask what I wanted next. Not revenge. Not validation. Not even an apology anymore. Claire's email gave me something unexpected: finality. A door slammed shut, and for once, I didn't feel the urge to kick it back open. I started rebuilding, piece by piece. I sold the mattress. You laugh, but it felt symbolic. Like I was evicting ghosts. Repainted the bedroom. Tossed the curtains she picked. Bought a new couch that didn't come with the memory of us fake laughing through arguments. The house felt lighter. I felt lighter. My therapist, Dr. Jacobs, called it active reclaiming. I called it disinfecting. Work got better too. I stopped calling in sick just to avoid people. I started hitting the gym regularly again, not out of spite, but because it felt good to feel strong. Like I had ownership over my body again, something Claire used to make me feel ashamed about with her passive-aggressive jokes. I even reconnected with an old college friend. Jess. We'd lost touch over the years, mostly because Claire didn't like how flirty she was. In reality, Jess was just blunt, funny, and impossible to manipulate. Basically Claire's kryptonite. We met for coffee, then dinner, then drinks, and then silence. The good kind. The kind where no one's performing, no one's hiding. Just two people sitting in comfort, letting the quiet fill in the gaps. There was no pressure, no confessions of love, just space. And respect. And peace. It made me realize something: Claire was a tornado. Every room she entered, she had to own it. Stir it up. Be the loudest. Be the victim. Be the villain. Be something. Jess? She was a breeze through an open window. No force. Just presence. That's what rebuilding feels like. Not fireworks. Not dramatic music. Just open air and no more smoke. One night, as I was sitting on the porch, the same one I had collapsed on the night I first confronted Claire, I pulled up her email one last time. I read the final line. If you're reading this, thank you. I don't deserve it. But thank you anyway. I deleted it. Not out of spite. But because I didn't need it anymore. Closure isn't found in their words. It's found in the quiet after you stop caring what they say. So here we are. The last chapter. It's been nearly a year since everything came crashing down, since my wife decided monogamy was a social construct, opened our marriage without asking, gave me an STD, got exposed at a family dinner, and torched every relationship she had in a 5-mile radius. I've walked through hell, stood in the middle of it, and watched the match still burning in her hand. And now? I'm standing on the other side. People ask me if I miss her. The answer is complicated, but simple. I miss who I thought she was. The version of her I loved. The version she pretended to be. But I don't miss the lies. The manipulation. The anxiety of always wondering why her phone was face down, why her smile seemed rehearsed, why intimacy felt like a transaction. I don't miss feeling small to keep her comfortable. And I sure as hell don't miss living in someone else's shadow while they used me as a prop in their performance. Here's what I'd tell anyone reading this who thinks they might be standing on the edge of the same cliff I once did. Trust your gut. If something feels off, it probably is. Love doesn't require you to destroy yourself for someone else's freedom. Don't mistake chaos for passion. People like Claire thrive on confusion because it keeps them from being accountable. If you're constantly questioning your own sanity, you're probably being gaslit. Document everything. I know, it sounds paranoid. But when you're dealing with someone who will twist truth into origami, proof is your shield. Healing takes time, but not forever. There will be nights where the silence feels louder than the lies ever were. Ride them out. They pass. And one morning, you'll wake up and not think about them at all. That's not loss. That's liberation. And finally, don't seek revenge. Just tell the truth. It will do the job for you. I didn't burn Claire's world. I just held up a mirror. She did the rest. Now I'm moving forward. Not into someone else's arms, not yet, but into my own. Fully. Honestly. Without shame or second guessing. And someday, maybe there'll be someone beside me who knows how to hold peace, not power. Until then, I'm good. Really, genuinely good. Thanks for reading. If this helps even one person out there make a cleaner break, trust their instincts, or just breathe easier, I'll take that as a win. The guy whose cheating wife opened the marriage, got an STD at family dinner, and got exposed, along with everything else.